George Yabu, the first hand of Yabu Pushelberg.
And I'm Glenn Pushelberg, George's partner and George's partner.
How lovely to have both of you with us today. How are you?
Good. It's a pleasure to be here, Yuri. It's a delight. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
we're in
you.
a good mood.
Well, I will waste no time and I'm going to jump straight in. And the goal here is to
Okay.
really have an honest, open conversation about life, design, and whatever else comes our way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's
All
great.
right, so let's do it. All right. What truth do you think design is currently avoiding?
Truth that design is currently avoiding. Well, it's interesting because Yuri, Glenn and I have our day-to-day runs 24/7. And sometimes the personal and emotional aspects bleed in. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a negative thing, but bleeds into our creative world where there's two of us and there's also many teams that are with us going on to this for what we do. In terms of exactly what your question is, that's an interesting one because design is not a like a purest form of creativity, and I want to be like a fine artist or something, and I'm not beholden to anyone or not influenced. You can be but that's your choice, right? So if I want to paint something, I'm going to paint it for the pure expression of what I want to communicate or my personal expression, but I'm not beholden, let's say, to a maker of furniture or a restaurateur or blah blah or anything of that sort. But doesn't mean that it's not creative at all, because you find creativity in many disciplines. You can find creativity in accounting, right? But I just wanted to be clear that it's not a pure form of I can do anything that I want. I can't on the side personally, but not what we do when we are involved with, I would say, today's patrons. Like someone asks us to do a building facade or design back to a plate or a drinking vessel. There's a patron involved. Yeah.
But I'm going to add to that. I think, George, you mentioned creative thought. I think actually a lot of design, especially product design, is avoiding creative thought. We think that we see products, especially furniture, going down the road that fashion's gone down, where the cycle has gotten faster and faster. There's a lot more styling and less original thought involved with depth of ideas to create new products. And that's a condition of too much information out there, or lots of information out there, and the speed at which things are done. I think that
It's interesting.
if you go back to the 70s, 80s, 90s, to especially Italian furniture companies, it was always about the uniqueness of a product that sold the product. Today, it's about what is the feeling, what is the mood of a brand. And so design is being backed into that rather than there's less. There's still experimentation, but there's less original thought involved in the process.
So I think people today, with their lack of like the high speed modern living today, and of course we have always heard about the digital world and all that. What is it doing? It's accelerating the process of creativity a little too much. We were talking to the president of Salon de Mobile, which is the big international furniture fair where they launch new products and trends every year in April in Milan. And I think it's become a greater GDP producer than the world of fashion. And so she wanted to like pull back a bit on what's new and come up with salon presentations every other year. And what
Yeah.
Glenn was referencing to, we're sort of following the speed of fashion, the fashion world, where people, this is what I want to wear next spring, summer, fall, winter. And she was getting frustrated because a big fashion company comes in and they can book the central train station, the main train station, to do a presentation about fashion during our design week for furniture. And she says, we don't have that power or the budget to be able to do that, to throw money at the city of Milan. And said, we want that whole major assembly area in the main train station. So everything is getting out of whack in terms of renting spaces for activations or new presentations. And the other thing she said, which I totally agree, and we design a piece of furniture. It takes 6 months to a year to present it. We
Or
start
longer,
tweaking
or
it,
2 years.
prototypes. Yeah, 2 years. We do prototypes. We do more prototypes to tweak it. We launch it. We show it at the show in April, the Salone. And then we, like the fashion world, we have to listen to comments and tweak it and do that. And you take it off the floor. And some of it is bullshit, and some of it is quite good, relevant information. And that's another year before you can present it and put it in the catalog for the world to possibly buy. Meanwhile, we're rushing for the next piece of furniture with less than a year. So it's all compromised, I think. The level of creativity and the process of creativity to get maximum amount of return on your effort and the effort of your patron or your partners who asked you to design this thing, this object.
You oh yeah, but we should continue because we could go on and on about this.
Yeah.
That was
only one question.
Yuri.
And this is a lovely question because I have the chance to talk to designers from all over the world, and they're all is pretty much in the same boat. They say that Milan
Right.
has become something very too big that doesn't matter how good it's so difficult for you to stand out because the fashion brands really much consume all the oxygen, not only space but the media, the attention, and it really sucks all the air out of any opportunity. So a lot of those folks are really focusing more smaller curator places to go and things like that. And Milan is fun, but it's so overwhelmed. I mean, you guys have done over and over, throughout the years. It gets bigger every year. So definitely something that hopefully they manage to condense and make it a little more manageable.
You make a beautiful object, and at the end, if it's not marketed, it's not shown, if it's lost in a sea of other objects, there's no opportunity for your child to grow into an adult and to have longevity. These are our children. We gestate, we make a child, and we want the child to succeed.
Yeah. Also, in the support industry, for instance, media. For instance, I hope I don't step on anybody's feet here, Yuri, but they want what's the newest. They said, what's the visual pizzazz that they see on their device? And I want that. But you know what? I've seen that talking to a woman that we know very well formerly of Wall Street Journal, and she said, I don't want to talk about that because New York Times talked about it. So but there are many things to talk about, not just the angle that New York Times talked about on an object, a chair. There are many, many stories there that got us to what we presented, what the final product is. So that's another thing that's kind of disheartening. Yeah.
Yeah, and listen, I don't mind stepping anyone's toes, so I'll say it. In a world that media has become less and less in terms of presence, there's less magazines available covering the industry, shelf industry as well.
Yeah.
And I understand there's a place that they need to survive, they need to pay the bills, they need to furniture, they have an audience, but we don't see challenge. We don't see conversations that's being pushing forward, that's being interesting, that's being diverse, that's being provocative. Everything's very much rinsing, repeat.
You're right. Yes. So now I think we're taking upon ourselves to come up with stories that are hopefully compelling enough to design aficionados. We had when was our house in Toronto published by Al Decor
20 years
Italia
ago,
decades
less than
ago.
20 years ago.
So our idea was, after the pandemic, working from that house, we started renovating it and making the house relevant 20 years later, and repurposing a lot of the materials in other places, and tried to put a story together. We presented it ourselves to the editor-in-chief of Al Decor Italia a couple of years ago. She says, "I love this story. It's like visiting George and Glenn 20 years later, and is that house still relevant today?" It is. We had this one tree that's carbon dated over 5,000 years old. We made enough veneer to make cabinets and doors, and we just rearranged our space to make it more livable to today, and as in our where we are today in our life. We reused those doors, we cut them down, we did sliding door pockets and all that, and she loved the idea that that house is still intact, but it was updated because we were living in it through 20 years, and why we decided to make those changes without throwing anything out.
George's COVID hobby.
Oh yes, that's fascinating. Do you feel like that's an important thing to designers to really consider and really control the narrative of their own store instead of leaving it up there to let other people to tell? Really curating, figured out what kind of message in the stores they want to share with the world, and really pursue those things.
When you design for yourself, whether it's your home environments, your office environments, your vacation environments, whatever it is, or an object for yourself, it becomes more personal, and it's becomes more special. When, as George was saying earlier, when you're designing for a client or for a furniture producer, there's certain conditions, and there's a certain freedom of having no conditions except your personal perspective on things. And I think it's harder, but it makes you think more about who you are and what you believe in and where you want design to go.
Sorry.
It's an experiment.
Now, both of you have done anything related to the industry, anything from interior, architecture, furnishing, licensing, a lot of different collaborations and things like that. Do you find yourselves in a position that are there more areas in that you wanted to explore, or you're more interested right now in just continuing to build what you already have and getting better at it?
No, we'd like to change our shoes. If we like to change our shoes, who doesn't like to change their shoes? Why do you always wear Oxfords, any loafers? So I think, we're curious about doing tentative retreats in Africa or things that are portable. We're interested in getting deeper and thinking about sustainable materials to make furniture and objects from.
And that's curious about. Yeah.
We're also keenly interested in designing for museums and galleries because the conditions are more restrictive, but that gives you more potential. So things to do with aviation are interesting to us. So there are areas of exploration that we're super keen to try. I mean, we've done a lot of hotels on Earth. We like the complexity of designing hotels, but we're not interested in just repeating.
Yeah.
It has to be a new idea or a new way of thinking.
Yeah.
There has to be a problem to solve.
I think Glenn said one word there early on. That's what your question, Yuri, and that was our curiosity today, after decades of doing this, is our curiosity is fully intact. And that curiosity is a driver to go to different typologies, like, museum planning or something like that. Or marine design, yachts, there's an engineering to it, and we're dealing with the footprint and all those things. But we question those things and we throw it at the client, back at them. And if they're coming along the same journey of concerns are the same way, then we go along with it. Because otherwise, it's not authentic to not ask those questions. of the client. And if it doesn't stick, if it doesn't feel right to us, we often turn away a lot of projects that, we don't feel is not really, it's not compelling and not really responsive enough. So that's the only way. So going back to being concerned about the environment, it's tricky business right now because the way it was presented, or the client is trying to convince the client that's not interested because they assume that to be green and be responsive to the environment costs more money. So we just did a different approach, philosophical approach, presenting it. We don't tell them that. We said, we're going to use the same, and we're going to use this material. And by the way, it's same price as using this syrup, and it's more responsible and green to the environment. And they say, okay, let's do it. They just say we should do this because it's our responsibility to do it. They're not going to buy it. Yeah.
I keep hearing the word of, problem solving and curiosity coming from both of you. And that's an interesting thing because this a lot of times can come as a personality trait. Not everybody has the same curiosity or even sometimes the same eager to, friction and encounter difficulties in problem solving, that sort of thing. Do you think those are some of the crucial traits to be successful in this industry? And if it is, can you build on those things? Can you become better at being curiosity? Can you become better at dealing with difficulties?
It's funny. Yes, it's funny because I think our more successful and more exciting projects that give us a lot of satisfaction, ones that the client let's allow themselves to enter their world up here, and the more they trust and engage you and tell you what they're thinking or how their industry works, I think the more compelling answer that would come up in terms of solving a problem.
I think working from the notion of curiosity is never wanting to repeat yourself, never wanting to do the same thing. Always curious about the next thing. I'll tell you a story. We went and saw this little company 2 years ago in 3 days of design in Copenhagen that was making furniture from Finland with one material. And we thought, and it's a tiny little company. We said, we want to design for you. And they said, what? You're luxury designers on earth. Why would you ever want to design for us? And they're super smart, clever fellows that ran this company, and making one material like pine, you can create a product that feels like the tree. It's heavy and base and simple and hard, or you can slice it thinly like Velveeta cheese, and you can shine light through it, and it's ethereal. And to me, there's a super simple problem to solve, but super difficult to do it in a poetic way.
Yes, and
so to us, that's exciting.
And I also said to a very small company, I asked him, well, you asked me that, but your creative director sitting beside you, who joined you, just left Apple. And and apparently this person that I beside you was pivotal in the iPhone design. So why did you come? Why do you want to design, softwood objects in Scandinavia from Palo Alto? So it was a similar curiosity that he has that we connected with the creative.
Are there other materials, technology, or even new, I don't want to say trends, but how the evolution of the industry moving forward there, you get you guys excited about things that you're looking forward to seeing in the upcoming years?
Yeah. You know what it is? I think apart from that curiosity is connecting people, or even, that's not for us, but I know this talented designer who would be ideal to work with you. I love that. putting creative people together, the right collaborations, the right free zone that comes out of it. And that's what we love. And we support a lot of designers that have gone on and do their own thing. I think there's a family tree at YP that there's about 30 companies, studios that spun off from our studio. And I love that. We mentor them still, and we nurture them. We feed them for projects. And it's that return, everything going circle, everything go complete circle. It's a Japanese philosophy of everything we're all connected. It all comes together, and that's really amazing to us. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No. Well, to riff on your point, George, I think because the world has gotten very small after working for 45 years, and you kind of know a lot of people.
Yeah.
I was going to say, everybody. We don't know everybody, but it's great connectivity. And like, there's a developer that has aspiration for something, and you can find the right hotel group, or you can find a great restaurateur that from somewhere else, and you can help form a project. And you have enough knowledge and history to say, what should the ingredients of the project be to make it a better project and make it more unique. And those are simple things, but it's interesting when we're looking at a project where the developer was interviewing different hotel groups, and they all had the same 5-star formulas. It's so bloody boring, because you're making another one of the same cake. It's just a different name on a cake. So why do you make a different cake? Why do you make it something more intimate, smaller? And why do you need to follow formulas? That's what people don't want. People want something that is unique. It's like, it's the same trap that falls with fashion. Is that, what is the fashion? People talk about fashion trends, and the ones that are doing well today are not following trends. They're following their heart and soul.
Yeah. You're talking a lot about the industry, and you've been around for 45 years. If we were to take a bird's eye view to the entire industry of design, interior design, and all of the spectrum, everything in between, there's a lot of collaboration between brands and creators, but also can be a very competitive space in terms of people bidding for the same projects and pieces, larger companies kind of copying or doing very close pieces similar to other designers and things like that. It's very cutthroat. It can be. Do you feel, though, that after all those years in the industry, is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Or are there a path to a better future?
Yes, it can be bad, but if you hone your craft continuously, if you keep making great projects that resonate with the users, like whether it's like a hotel or a residential store or whatever, and they succeed, and you keep building upon your reputation, and you keep creating unique things, that smart clients will pay the right fee.
And going beyond the excitement of putting two brands together, like Adidas and Gucci, but beyond that, it's just a moment and then it's gone, like fast food. So today, for instance, we have a chair that's extremely successful chair that we've been doing for our company, Ipanema, and then we saw why they wanted to make an outdoor version. That's it. And then I think Glenn and the team thought, well, why don't you collaborate with an outdoor furniture company that we design furniture and collaborate and use your technology that's already done, and I think that way the new outdoor version of the same chair will have legs that will go much further than 1 year or season or a year or two.
So what you're saying, George, is we're adding value through our connections and through our history of information. But
not adding another chair in the market, where somebody else is coming up with. There's going to be 20 chairs coming up this year anyway.
The opposite of that is, you nurture young designers, and many have gone off, as George said, over 30, maybe 35 companies on earth that came from us, and some of them you watch their progress, and they excel, and they get their own voice. So it's not voice and they think about that. And other companies, oh yeah, I'm a halo of Yabu, and they diminish themselves, and then they start focusing on fees, and they diminish themselves even more. It's interesting. You talk to some executives of some of the major hotel groups, and they say, well, yeah, and we get all the time, we get portfolios of young design companies that say, I worked at Yabu. I mean, that is also the kind of silliest thing to sell yourself. You're selling yourself, sell who you are, and live for yourself. The kind of the advantage that we have is when we were young and we started, neither of us worked for anybody. We were self-invented. And so we didn't have any baggage to diminish us. And we started because we loved what we did. We were terrible business people. It wasn't about making money in business. It was about the passion we were doing. You know, we almost went down the drink one time. We had to learn about business, but that was after the fact. But our motivation has always been, let's make something great out of this. Sometimes you'll make money on a project, sometimes you won't. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you will do okay, and focus on your craft and keep refining your craft. I think that's our message to anybody listening. Once you focus on business, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So for those perhaps young upcoming designers that's just about to leave school for the first time, do you find it in today's age is more beneficial perhaps to find a larger company like Yabu Pushelberg to work for and get experience and learn the trade a little bit more, or kind of just, stay alone, go solo and figure things on their own?
I think you're asking the question of defining your happiness. That comes from within, not without. I think for some it's one way, and for some it's the other. It depends on the person.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's true.
Now, often design can be seen as something that is all about control, right? Controlling the pieces, the material, and shaping, taking form. But where in your work do you allow the chaos to win?
Oh my gosh.
In the studio.
Because
this team is
You
we
go
work
first.
best in teams. We work best in teams, and if there's something coming up that's really exciting to add on, what we do is like, oh my god, how are we going to fit this in? This is too compelling to say no, thank you. We gotta have to take this on. And so what we do is we go into Shrek mode. There's an old quintessential French term meaning you put yourself in a room for half a day or a day, and that all the messiness and the exciting stuff and the oh, that's a really screwed up idea, we say, but let me figure it out. Let's keep it open. So it's a big, messy free for all that we like to do once in a while, rather than being so in your own head. And that's the exciting thing, that sparring of ideas, and we challenge each other. How can you justify what you want to do with this project? I love that stuff. The spark, because you never know where an idea comes from. There's, as the esteemed Paul Smith, the fashion editor, said, there is inspiration everywhere in this world, and I truly believe it. Really believe it. Yeah.
But I think that, but at the end of the day, we're perfectionists. We want that perfect project. I think that where imperfection makes it even more perfect is through artists, craftsmen, and makers. I give you a little story. When we were young in our career, we had this tiny little restaurant in that Brasserie X, George, and we had a week before opening. There was no money anyway. Week before opening, we had to find a chandelier, a light fixture, and we went to Dennis Lynn, a friend of ours, and said, "We have a week." So he brought some thin wood veneer over and wrapped a lamp and made a light shine, and it was perfectly perfect, and that created a kind of different perfection. So we have many years of experience of working with artists, craftsmen, and makers, and that layer, I think, always makes our projects better because they're perfect, but they're not perfect. There's something about interior design firms that try to make something perfect and then it becomes soulless.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
It's really the magic of doing great work with environments is kind of finding a soul. It's kind of this mixing of proportion, scale, materiality, lighting to create mood and drama, or to create some sort of sense of emotion to it. And when things are too perfectly or linear, we're using the wrong set of just one set of our brain, they become like nothing, everything and nothing. It's a problem with it's a problem with most airports. Is the simplest thing. It's like there are very few airports that you really feel
the frustration, right? Yeah, airports.
You just feel, even the most modern airports, they just feel without. They don't help you.
Well, so it's a facility to enjoy flying. It's just trying to keep you distracted whenever.
One day, you're in an airport. We'll see.
Glenn, you going to stop you said back to your question about for a young designer going on to start a great career, is there benefit to go to a large studio with a lot of multidisciplinary things happening? Then you find your groove, or do you go to a small company where you get, you can get really intimate, get attention to this project? They are both valid.
Sure.
But I'm going to say one thing, that we had a recent salon series where we invited final year students at Parsons before they graduate, and another design university that Glenn and I graduated from in Toronto, and those students who happened to be in New York, they had a final year tour of New York. So we put the two schools, final year students together in salon, and it was like ask George and Glenn anything kind of thing.
Yep.
And I think when we went to our school, the first year we're not allowed to design anything. All the courses were about exploring materiality.
Yeah.
Pick up a 35 millimeter lens, single lens reflex camera, and tell us what you're seeing, what you're inspired by. And, so we had plastic shop, wood shop, metal shop, all this shit, right? Glass blowing, whatever. And so I thought they should have that at both disciplines. I don't know if they have that in Parsons, but there was one question that one of the students at Parsons asked our Christian, who's running our PR and branding and department. And one of the students came up to him after the talk with a drink and said, "This is exciting. This is great here. How much do they pay around here anyway?" Right? I would never have that. First of all, I shouldn't say everybody has their important what's priority, but I was like, wow, it was interesting.
But to your point, that I remember at the time of going to school that first year, to me it was frustrating because we're here to learn interior design. But actually, what was smart about it, it was a year of undoing all your preconceptions and starting with a blank canvas.
Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah.
You have won so many designers, even the CDA Awards in Paris now a few years ago, have so many accolades. How are those things, what do they mean to you today, your point of your career? Are those things important for the industry?
I think there is an obligation when you become somewhat of a leader in your industry to show your true self, to encourage people to be their true selves. I don't want to get pie in the sky about generosity, but there was our psychic that we go to talk to us about, well, we're good to go. Our chakras are aligned. But what he said was that you have got to a point where you have a limitless life. And I think, it's not boasting, but I think that if you were to a point where you can get away of all your self-imposed limitations, you can live as big a life as you want, whatever that means to you, out of happiness. So I think that what we embrace is that we can show others
Yes.
a similar way of living.
It's not, it's not the accolade that's really, I am not
It's
really, really at all impacted, but an accolade that we get graciously accept. People find out what we do because of that recognition, and then they can tell a real story of why we're doing things that we do.
Years ago, we were awarded the Order of Canada, which is like the President's Award of the United States. And stuff. We were in this room in Ottawa, and there was a doctor getting for stem cell research award. And George and I looked at each other and said, "We need to step it. We need to step it up." We were doing some philanthropy, but we need to step up things like our philanthropy of giving back, of showing those in our industry a positive way to go.
And not only that, involving our suppliers and people that we are tradespeople to participate with us. Yeah. So it's a bigger message than just.
No, I love it, and I'm going to jump a little bit deeper on that bigger message, because hearing you, both of you, we have met briefly before. We actually met in Shanghai in 2018.
I remember, because I have good facial recognition.
Yes.
I said to
for Design Shanghai, I think
I said I know this person, Yuri. I just know him. I just can't remember.
I think we were in different panels, but we're close to each other.
Yes.
But this is the first time I got to really hear from you guys, and I'm having the sense of two people that have a fully comprehensive understanding of who they are, not only professionally, but spiritually, physically, emotionally. You're very much open to the idea of express yourself at the best you can. Yeah. And of course, we all have good and bad days, right? Oh, yeah. We all humans, and we all have those limitations. But I've been able to kind of get the energy coming from you guys, and I want to kind of go deeper in the aspect of spirituality. Are you a spiritual person? Are you a religious person? Or you talk about there's a psychic, or what element of that do you invest your soul to believe that you are on the right path to following the destiny, or whatever it is that you believe in it?
Well, I'll just talk first. Growing up and not non-practice, I wasn't practicing Buddhism, but growing up within a Buddhist household, my parents, I didn't realize how much that echo or that feeling is carried forward after moving out of the house and doing what we do today. And I know the world is so wonky right now, and I take every chance I can to make things that doesn't seem right in the world in our own little way to make it more balanced. I hope that a lot of our design that we do, that we create, is empathetic in nature, and we can do private commissions, of course, but beyond that, when you are presenting something to the world, designing a little cafe and somebody's having a coffee in the environment that you created, I hope it's an empathetic one, that it's not just coming in and just grabbing a cup of joe, or, it's all double. I want them to have more meaning and the reason why, and make sure this feels right to me. I'm going to come back tomorrow for another cup of coffee, but I'm not sure why. So I want like a positive engagement in whatever we do, and that's really hard today with the pressure of trying to present their personal brand or a company's brand. And I don't like the brand. We don't design for Instagram moments, the fast food. We want people to build something and they will come back and they'll come back again. And then when they come back again, I didn't see that last time I was there. So I want to engage them further than the lifespan of fashion or fast food or single use, things. whatever. Meanwhile, I'm doing having a box of everything. There's it doesn't feel right to me. Just because I want to do something to dazzle editors and dazzle people, and then they words that like, oh yes, that's where I should be impressed. And they take a selfie and they're gone. They don't stay to understand and feel. Oh, this is why does this do it this way? Why does it make me feel? Slow me down, or why does it excite me? This is so boring if you can't get past that first impression.
I'm going to take your question to another different place. I think that you talk about values. Values are important to us: generosity, kindness, happiness, acting as a family rather than a company. It's not about quid pro quo, it's about giving, learning, teaching, all of those things. And that sounds very facile, but we do live that. We go to work because we enjoy the people there. They give us energy, we give them energy. We do things like we were talking about Salon Series, where we find people that have overcome the hurdles of their life to create as big a life, as good a life that they can create. Anything from a dancer to a hotel manager to an artist or to a designer. We realized years ago we got rid of things like time sheets recording people's time. We work on trust with people and with expectations. And to us, these things are super important to us. And when there's a kind of a failure in the system where somebody says, well, I'm not going to go to George Glenn's house and fix their electronic system. You have to pay me more money. Well, that person doesn't really understand the values that are intrinsic in who we are. So anyways, as a silly example, but I think that for us, we go to work because we want to.
Do you think design makes people more human or just more comfortable?
I hope it makes more human. I really hope so. Yeah. Other people can make it comfortable for other people, but that's you can find comfort. Comfort is a state of mind anyway, so I hope it's more than just comfort.
I think that
there's messages to be told. Yeah.
I think we're living in a world of separation. This is my country. This is your country. Get out of my country. Do this. Do this. I think that nature of beauty, if you do it well, if it resonates with your heart and your soul, you can create something. Not all of our projects do that, but that is one of our goals. We bring people together. Those things, intrinsic beauty, joy, mystery, sensuality, emotions are universal. And so I think it has a purpose. It's not, it might sound a bit lofty. We're not trying to be lofty. We're not saving the world, but we believe we're making it a better place.
Well, Valentina, a recent designer, young designer, joined us, and she was more impressed of our culture and our values more than her.
I go further. I say by being yourself, you are saving the world. Just for small people will be able to identify and find inspiration and get the energy, the motivation, the inspiration to continue the path for bigger, better, and more interesting things. So
anything's possible.
Actually, Yuri, I like it. I think to your point, leading by example is we understand our obligation. It's where we come is a point of leading.
Well, before I let both of you go, there are a couple questions I ask everybody here on the show. I would like you to recommend us a few things, okay? I would like you to recommend us a book, something to read, something to watch, a movie, a TV show, and something to listen to. And who do we think we should have as a guest here next on the show?
That's a deep thought.
I like somewhat depressing books, and I just finished thinking Gladness by Ocean Vuong. And the book resonated with me because it was all very, in one level, it was depressing. It was about a down and out town, or people in a town with no hope and no future. And that was the depressing part of it. And it's like reminding us to always have hope for the future. I mean, the other part of the book that I thought was super interesting was there was a generosity within this group of people that couldn't go forward. That reminded us of that there's intrinsically something in the human being that we have an obligation to each other as people. And Ocean Vuong is a great writer, and it was a beautiful book. So I would highly recommend.
Transcending the human spirit survives against all that threat. That's interesting. Right? Yes. Yeah.
What about something to watch, a movie or a TV show?
I could watch TV. I have no time for TV. And the shows I watch are highly compromised because they're only the shows that are on airplanes.
But you know what? No, it's of the moment because in our heads. But we were watching the new South Park.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? It's in a day where saying messages tamped down. They have a lot. They have a lot of balls.
Yeah.
Watch this one.
We need those for sure.
No, we need them.
We need that. Yeah.
What about gas?
Jennifer, I forgot
Guest?
your book. Oh, go ahead. Yes. That's the trick. Yes, that one's interesting. That one
that's
more
a tricky
thoughts than a
question.
random thing.
Oh my gosh.
I can hear somebody now. Why didn't you recommend me? I have to think about that reason why.
Like a creative person that you love to hear from, or have the opportunity to hear a few words from that person.
I mean, I think okay. I'm going to give you two people, and they're both
Excellent.
kind of random because my mind is kind of. There's Carlos Osani, who was part of her. She and her sister were the design mafia in fashion design mafia in Italy for a long time. No, because she, there's a softer side of her. We met her. There's a softer side of her, and she was brave. And I think there's an interesting story there. And then this person you will never get, but there's a fellow that we met in Jackson Heights called Tony Mansfield. Tony Mansfield, we met through a close friend of ours who became his neighbor. And Tony Mansfield's story is that he was a male gay porn star in the 70s. And he became a DJ in the 80s and stuff. This is part of Andy Warhol's factory. He had a trans wife. And he hoarded all of this stuff. And there's a great history and great knowledge that he has. He's skittish and old, but super interesting. He lived a limitless life within the context of where he was. And there's an incredible history of that time in New York that he was part of, but didn't become famous with. And his last name, he changed it because he liked James Mansfield. But super interesting people. If you want to find people that are not, it's not a linear way of thinking, but this kind of like personal, I believe in myself, I know who I am, and that's where creativity starts from. I would go down that road, and there's many others that you just have to take. Good luck, Yuri.
Lovely. Good luck. Oh, I'll accept the challenge.
Okay, great.
Yeah. I wanted to thank you, both of you, for taking the time. As I mentioned, there's not much I can say that hasn't been said about your work, but for the last few minutes, been able to. There you go. Say your book.
I don't know exactly what it is, but I was given to a lovely designer of mine, and I always wanted to read it. And she said, "George, finally, it's in English." So she gave it to me. It's How Trees Talk to Each Other.
Oh, that's a good one.
That simple, how they communicate and how they respect for other, and how they talk. They talk and listen to each other. There's lots to learn about that by human beings. For instance, there's a principle called what do you call it? Crown shy. It's a term called contra, and trees, when they grow, they give each other space and they allow that other tree to grow, and they don't get entangled into the other tree. And even their roots speak to each other. And there's a lot of communication of empathy and respect within botany, and it's an interesting analogy of what should happen today. How all this miscommunication and disrespect. It's really interesting. So it's how to communicate. It's a challenging guy, and she gave me the book, and I left it at the beach house.
Well, it is true. For the longest time,
yeah.
we thought that the trees, the plants, competed for sunlight with each other, right?
No.
And now we really much know
They give
nowadays
each
that
other
that's not the case.
You take the sky, when you cut a tree down, it doesn't get all knotted together. If you have to cut a tree down first, and it just falls gracefully, right? They said, "Whoa, this is my space." Yeah,
If you could,
your space. Next time it's your space. So there's a lot of empathy.
Well, thank you for this amazing conversation. It gave me the opportunity to, get inside and learn a little bit more about your life, your feelings, your emotions, a little bit more beyond than just a career and a story. That there's little that I can say that hasn't been said before.
Yeah.
And I hope if not in Paris, perhaps here in Austin, you guys ever down here, we can get some barbecue, do something together. We got
It's on the list to get to Austin. Yes, for sure. Thank you
so much.
And it's a pleasure to see you again, Yuri. Yeah. Thank you so much for this opportunity.